Captain Sarah Chen watched the holographic display with growing horror as another human colony winked out of existence. Titan's Hope, population 50,000, gone in an instant. The feed from the colony's quantum buoys showed the same pattern as the previous attacks, a ripple of impossible energy that turned matter itself into a strange crystalline form that defied known physics. "Status report," she demanded, her voice steady despite the churning in her stomach. The bridge crew of the ESS Hyperion worked with practiced efficiency, but she could see the tension in their movements. "No conventional weapons signatures detected, Captain," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from his station. "Whatever hit them, it wasn't missiles, beams, or any known form of ordnance." But he hesitated, fingers dancing across his console. "I'm detecting quantum fluctuations similar to the Arcturus and Neo-Shanghai incidents." This marked the 7th colony lost in 3 months, each attack following the same pattern. No warning, no demands, just entire populations transformed into crystalline statues in moments. The military had classified the attacks as a new form of weapon, but Chen knew better. This was something beyond current understanding of physics. "Captain, her XO, Commander David Walsh," called from his station. "Long-range sensors are picking up something unusual. A ship, but it's not matching any known configurations in our database." Chen strode to his station, studying the readings. The vessel was massive, easily dwarfing the Hyperion, but its energy signature was barely detectable. It seemed to exist partially out of phase with normal spacetime, like a ghost ship swimming through the void. "First contact," Chen muttered, "but not how we hoped it would be." The alien vessel moved with impossible grace, sliding through space as if the normal rules of inertia didn't apply. As Chen watched, smaller craft began emerging from its hull, each one a twisted geometry that hurt the eyes to look at directly. "Battle stations," Chen ordered, knowing full well that their conventional weapons might be useless against this threat. "And get me a quantum-encrypted channel to Fleet Command. They need to see this." But before the communication officer could comply, the alien ships began to move. Not toward the Hyperion, but toward the nearest populated system, New Eden, home to over 3 million colonists. "Helm, maximum burn to intercept," Chen commanded. "We can't let them reach New Eden." The Hyperion's engines roared to life, pushing the massive warship to its limits. But Chen knew they wouldn't make it in time. The alien ships were too fast, too advanced. They would reach New Eden before the Hyperion could cross even half the distance. That's when Lieutenant Rodriguez spoke up again, his voice tight with excitement. "Captain, I've been analyzing the quantum signatures from the previous attacks. There's a pattern, a weakness maybe, if we reconfigure our shield harmonics to match the frequency of their weapon." Chen didn't hesitate. "Do it, and prepare to broadcast the shield frequency to New Eden's defensive grid, if there's even a chance." The next few minutes were a blur of activity as Rodriguez worked with engineering to modify their shields. Through the main viewport, Chen could see the alien ships approaching New Eden, their strange geometries distorting the very fabric of space around them. "Shield modifications complete," Rodriguez announced. "Broadcasting to New Eden now." They watched in tense silence as the alien ships moved into attack position. The first blast of energy rippled out, that same impossible wave that had crystallized 7 other colonies. But this time, something different happened. As the energy wave hit New Eden's modified shields, it scattered, dissipating into harmless quantum noise. The aliens fired again, and again the shields held. "It worked," Walsh breathed, almost in disbelief. "We actually found a way to stop them." But Chen wasn't celebrating yet. The alien ships had stopped their attack, but instead of retreating, they were changing formation. Something new was coming, something bigger. "All hands," Chen announced shipwide. "Prepare for close combat. We've bloodied their nose. Now let's show them why humanity isn't a species to be trifled with." As the Hyperion moved to engage, Chen couldn't help but smile grimly. The aliens had made a crucial mistake. They'd shown humanity their hand too early, given them time to adapt. And if there was one thing humans excelled at, it was turning an enemy's strength against them. The real battle was just beginning, and Sarah Chen intended to make these aliens regret ever targeting human colonies, because now humanity knew they were out there, knew they could be hurt, and most importantly, knew they could be beaten. The war for survival had begun, but humanity wasn't going down without a fight. And if Chen had anything to say about it, they weren't going down at all. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility that officially didn't exist, Dr. Emily Zhao stood before the most unusual research team ever assembled. The quantum physicist couldn't help but marvel at the irony. Humanity's best hope against an impossibly advanced alien threat was a group of scientific outcasts and military misfits. The crystallizers, as we're calling them, aren't just attacking our colonies, she explained, gesturing to the holographic display showing the aftermath of their attacks. They're rewriting the fundamental laws of physics in localized areas. What we thought impossible is apparently just another Tuesday for them. Captain Sarah Chen, newly reassigned from the Hyperion after her successful defense of New Eden, stood at the back of the room. Her discovery of the shield frequency that could deflect the alien weapons had earned her a place on Project Aegis, but she knew that was just the beginning. The modified shields work, Chen interjected, but they're adapting. Each attack uses a slightly different quantum frequency. We're playing catch-up, and eventually, they'll find a frequency we can't counter. Dr. Marcus Rivera, a theoretical physicist whose controversial work on quantum manipulation had got him laughed out of academia, stepped forward. His dark eyes gleamed with excitement. But that's exactly why we'll win. They're thinking like engineers. We need to think like revolutionaries. He pulled up his own data set, complex equations that seemed to swim and shift before their eyes. They're using established physics, just at a level we haven't achieved yet. But what if we could do something truly impossible? Something that breaks the rules entirely. The room erupted in debate, exactly as Emily had hoped. This was why she pushed to recruit these particular individuals. They didn't just think outside the box, they denied the box's existence entirely. Dr. Kira Patel, a prodigy in quantum computing who'd been recruited straight out of her classified work for various intelligence agencies, was already building on Rivera's idea. Her fingers flew over her tablet, modeling new possibilities. If we combine Captain Chen's shield frequency discovery with Dr. Rivera's quantum tunneling theories, she muttered, more to herself than the group, we might be able to not just deflect their attacks, but reverse them. The final member of their core team, Major James Wong, a special forces operator with extensive experience in asymmetric warfare, had been quietly observing until now. You're talking about turning their own weapons against them, he said, his voice carrying the weight of someone who'd seen too many battlefields. But to do that, we'd need to understand exactly how their technology works. Emily smiled. This was the moment she'd been waiting for. With a gesture, she activated the facility's main display, revealing a secure containment chamber. Inside, suspended in a quantum field, was a fragment of crystallized matter from one of the attacked colonies. That's exactly what we're going to do, she announced. This isn't just frozen matter. It's a piece of their weapons effect, still active at a quantum level. And we're going to take it apart, atom by atom, until we understand exactly how they did it. The team gathered around the display, their earlier tension forgotten in the face of this new challenge. This was what they were here for, not just to defend against the impossible, but to master it. As they began their work, Emily caught Chen watching the crystalline fragment with an unreadable expression. Something on your mind, Captain? Chen nodded slowly. Just thinking about something my grandfather used to say, that sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. But magic has rules too, doesn't it? We just have to figure out what they are. Over the next weeks, Project Aegis made breakthrough after breakthrough. Each team member brought their unique perspective to the problem, challenging assumptions and pushing boundaries that more conventional scientists wouldn't dare approach. Rivera's quantum manipulation theories, combined with Patel's computing models, began to reveal the underlying principles of the alien weapon. Wang's tactical experience helped them understand not just how it worked, but how it might be deployed most effectively. But it was Chen's practical experience with the alien encounters that proved most valuable. She had seen their weapons in action, had felt the strange distortions they created in space-time. Her insights helped bridge the gap between theory and application. The crystalline fragment proved to be the key. It wasn't just frozen matter. It was matter trapped between states, existing in multiple quantum configurations simultaneously. The aliens weren't just freezing their targets, they were rewriting the quantum signature of reality itself. "They're not breaking physics," Patel announced one night after a particularly intense analysis session. "They're exploiting a loophole in the universe's operating system, and if they can do it, so can we." Emily watched her team work, pride mixing with determination. They were close to something revolutionary, not just a defense against the alien weapons, but perhaps a whole new understanding of physics itself. But time was running out. Intelligence reports suggested the crystallizers were massing for a major offensive. Multiple alien ships had been detected at the edges of human space, larger and more powerful than anything seen before. Project Aegis needed to deliver results soon, or there might not be any human colonies left to defend. As Emily looked at the determination on her team's faces, she knew they would succeed. Not because they were the best and brightest, though they were, but because they had no choice. Humanity's survival depended on it. And sometimes that was the greatest motivation of all. Dr. Marcus Rivera hadn't slept in 48 hours, but he couldn't stop now. The equations floating in the holographic display were finally starting to make sense, revealing patterns he'd only theorized about in his most ambitious research. Behind him, the crystalline fragment pulsed with an otherworldly light, as if responding to his calculations. "You need to see this," he called out, his voice echoing through the nearly empty lab. Only Captain Chen and Dr. Patel remained at this late hour, both looking as exhausted as he felt. "The aliens aren't freezing matter," he explained, manipulating the holographic display with trembling hands. "They're creating quantum lockouts, forcing matter into a single, stable quantum state. But here's the beautiful part. They have to use massive amounts of energy to maintain that state." Patel's eyes widened as she processed the implications. "That's why their ships are so large. They're not just weapons platforms. They're power plants," Chen finished, her military training immediately grasping the tactical significance. "Which means they have a critical vulnerability." Rivera nodded enthusiastically, pulling up more data streams. "But that's just the beginning. Look at these energy signatures from the New Eden attack. When their weapon hit our modified shields, it created a quantum resonance pattern. I thought it was just interference, but..." He typed a rapid sequence of commands, and the holographic display transformed, showing a complex, three-dimensional wave pattern. "It's a template. Their weapon doesn't just lock quantum states, it imposes a specific pattern. And if we can understand that pattern, we can replicate it," Patel breathed, already reaching for her tablet. "Or better yet, create our own." The next 12 hours were a blur of activity. Dr. Zhao was called in, along with Major Wang and the rest of the Project Aegis team. As Rivera explained his discovery, the implications became clear. This wasn't just a defensive breakthrough, it was the key to fighting back. "The quantum lockout effect requires precise harmonic alignment," Patel explained, showing simulations of their proposed countermeasure. "If we can generate an opposing frequency, we don't just block their weapon, we can potentially reverse it, or even redirect it." Major Wang leaned forward, studying the tactical projections. "Like turning their own punch against them. In martial arts, we call that using your opponent's strength as their weakness." "Exactly," Chen agreed. "But we need to test it. Simulations are one thing, but real quantum manipulation at this scale is incredibly dangerous." Dr. Zhou finished. One miscalculation, and we could lock ourselves into a quantum state, or worse. But they all knew they had no choice. Intelligence reports confirmed the alien fleet was growing. Whatever they were planning, it would be big, and humanity needed to be ready. The test facility was prepared in an abandoned mine shaft, deep enough that any catastrophic failure would be contained. The team worked around the clock, converting their theories into practical technology. Rivera's quantum manipulation equations formed the core of their device, while Paddle's computers handled the impossibly complex calculations needed to maintain stability. When the moment of truth arrived, they gathered behind reinforced barriers, watching through quantum-shielded sensors. The test device, hardly larger than a microwave oven, hummed to life. Initiating quantum field generation, Patil announced, her voice steady despite the tension. Field stability at 97%. Harmonics aligned. Target is in position, Wang reported, indicating the block of ordinary matter they'd placed in the test chamber. All safety protocols are green. Dr. Zhou gave the final command. Execute test sequence alpha. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the air in the test chamber began to shimmer, reality itself appearing to fold and unfold like origami made of light. The target block glowed, its quantum state shifting visible to the naked eye. It's working, Rivera whispered, watching his instruments with intense focus. The quantum lockout is establishing exactly as predicted. But look at the energy consumption. It's orders of magnitude less than what the aliens use. Indeed, their device was accomplishing with a standard power cell what the aliens needed massive ships to achieve. The implications were staggering. Full quantum lockout achieved, Paddle reported. Target is stable. Now for Phase 2. This was the crucial test, not just creating the effect, but controlling it. With careful precision, Patil adjusted the harmonics. The crystallized block began to shift, its quantum state responding to their commands. We can control it, Chen realized, watching in amazement. We can actually control the quantum state of matter itself. The test continued, each phase confirming their theories. They could create the effect, control it, and most importantly, reverse it completely. When they finally powered down the device, the target block was completely unchanged, showing no signs of the incredible transformation it had undergone. As the team celebrated their success, Dr. Zhou pulled up the latest intelligence reports. The alien fleet was still growing, now numbering over 50 ships. But for the first time since this crisis began, she felt real hope. We need to scale this up, she announced, silencing the celebration. The aliens won't wait while we perfect this technology. How quickly can we adapt this for military applications? Chen studied the test data, her tactical mind already working on deployment scenarios. With proper resources and support, we could have prototype weapons ready in weeks. But we need to be smart about this. The moment we reveal this capability, the aliens will start developing countermeasures. Then we make sure our first strike counts, Wang said grimly. Hit them hard enough that they don't get a chance to adapt. As the team began planning their next steps, Rivera took a final look at the test chamber. They'd done more than just develop a weapon. They'd fundamentally changed humanity's understanding of physics. Whatever happened next, there would be no going back. The question was, were they ready for what they'd unleashed? The bridge of the ESS Hyperion hummed with nervous energy as Captain Chen reviewed the final battle plans. In the months since Project Aegis's breakthrough, humanity had worked at unprecedented speed to prepare for this moment. 3 ships, the Hyperion, the Challenger, and the Artemis, had been retrofitted with the new quantum manipulation technology. Strike Fleet reports ready, Captain, Commander Walsh announced, his voice tight with anticipation. All quantum systems are synchronized and operational. On the main tactical display, Chen could see the alien fleet gathered near the Proxima Centauri system. 57 massive ships, their twisted geometries still defying conventional sensors. Intelligence suggested they were preparing for a major offensive against Earth's core worlds. "Time to crash their party," Chen muttered, then raised her voice. "All hands, battle stations, begin Operation Reversal." Dr. Rivera and Dr. Patel had insisted on being present for this first engagement, their expertise crucial for managing the experimental quantum systems. They stood at specially installed stations, monitoring the complex harmonics that would make their counterattack possible. "Remember," Rivera cautioned, "the quantum field generators have never been tested at this scale. We'll only get one shot before they adapt." Chen nodded grimly. "Then we make it count. All ships, execute jump sequence on my mark." The 3 human vessels had been positioned carefully, using the local star's gravity well to mask their approach. At Chen's command, they activated their quantum drives simultaneously, tearing holes in space-time to emerge right in the middle of the alien fleet. "Quantum signatures stable," Paddle reported, her fingers dancing across her console. "Beginning harmonic alignment." The alien ships reacted immediately to the human presence, their massive forms turning with impossible grace. Energy began building in their weapon systems, the same weapons that had crystallized so many human colonies. But this time, humanity was ready. "All ships, activate quantum fields," Chen commanded. "Execute pattern Alpha 7. The space between the human and alien vessels lit up with impossible colors as quantum fields collided. The aliens fired their crystallization weapons, but instead of finding helpless targets, their energy attacks met carefully calibrated quantum barriers. "Field harmonics holding," Rivera announced, excitement creeping into his voice. "Initiating counterphase sequence." This was the crucial moment. The theoretical turned practical. As the alien weapons poured energy into space, the human ship's quantum generators began to twist and redirect that power, using the aliens' own attack patterns against them. The effect was immediate and spectacular. The nearest alien vessel shuddered as its weapon fire was caught in a quantum loop, its energy redirected back at its source. For a moment, the massive ship seemed to crystallize, its otherworldly geometry freezing in multiple quantum states simultaneously. "It's working," Patil exclaimed. "Pattern replication is stable, expanding field radius." Chen watched in amazement as the effect spread from ship to ship, the aliens' own weapons turning against them. Their massive vessels, so powerful and threatening, were being trapped in the same crystalline stasis they had inflicted on human colonies. But the aliens weren't defenseless. Several ships managed to adjust their weapon frequencies, attempting to break free of the quantum trap. Others began emergency jumps, trying to escape. "They're adapting faster than predicted," Rivera warned. "Field stability dropping to 89%. Chen had expected this. "Execute Phase 2. All ships, switch to pattern Beta 3. The human vessels shifted their quantum harmonics, changing the nature of their attack. Instead of reflecting the alien weapons, they began generating their own quantum lockouts, targeting the aliens' power systems directly. The battle that followed was unlike anything in human military history. It wasn't fought with conventional weapons, but with competing attempts to control the fundamental nature of reality itself. Space twisted and warped around the combatants as quantum fields collided and intersected. "We've crystallized 23 enemy vessels," Walsh reported. "But our power systems are reaching critical levels." Chen knew they couldn't maintain this level of quantum manipulation for long. Their technology was new, barely tested, but they'd achieved their primary objective, proving that humanity could fight back. "All ships, prepare for emergency jump," she ordered. "Target coordinates Sierra 9. As the human vessels prepared to retreat, Shen took one last look at the battlefield. The massive alien fleet had been reduced by half, their remaining ships in disarray. More importantly, they now knew that their supposedly invincible weapons could be turned against them. The Hyperion's quantum drive engaged, ripping a hole in space-time. As they jumped to safety, Chen allowed herself a small smile. This wasn't just a victory, it was a message. Humanity wasn't helpless anymore. In the aftermath of the battle, As damage reports came in and the adrenaline faded, Chen found Rivera and Patel still at their stations, analyzing data from the engagement. "We proved the concept works," Rivera said, looking up from his readings. "But they'll adapt their technology, find ways to counter our countermeasures." "Let them try," Chen replied. "Because we'll keep adapting too. That's what humans do best." Patel nodded in agreement, already working on improvements to their quantum systems. "The data from this battle, it's giving us insights we never expected. We're not just learning to fight them, we're learning to understand the universe in entirely new ways." As the Hyperion and its sister ships limped home for repairs and upgrades, Chen knew this was just the beginning. The aliens would return, stronger and more prepared. But humanity would be ready. They had taken the first step from victims to equals in this conflict, and they weren't about to stop there. 3 months after humanity's first successful counterattack, Dr. Emily Zhao stood in Project Aegis's command center, staring at data that defied explanation. The alien fleet hadn't returned with improved weapons or new tactics. Instead, they'd gone completely silent. "They're building something," Captain Chen insisted, pointing to long-range sensor data from the edge of human space. "These energy signatures are off the charts, but they're contained, focused. It's like they're trying to hide them." Dr. Rivera nodded, his tired eyes fixed on quantum readings that scrolled endlessly across his screen. "The patterns are familiar, but the scale, it's beyond anything we've seen. They're not preparing for another attack. This is something else." That's when Dr. Patel burst into the room, her usual composed demeanor shattered by excitement. "You need to see this," she announced, connecting her tablet to the main display. "I finally cracked the quantum harmonics from their ship debris. It's not just a weapon system, it's a language." The room fell silent as complex waveforms appeared on screen, shifting and interweaving in mesmerizing patterns. "The quantum states they generate," Patel explained, "they're not random. They're mathematical expressions, concepts, ideas encoded in the fabric of reality itself." Major Wong leaned forward, his military mindset searching for tactical implications. "Are you saying their weapons were actually attempts at communication?" "No," Rivera interrupted, his eyes widening with understanding. "The weapons were weapons, but the quantum technology itself, it's their equivalent of the written word. They don't just manipulate reality, they use it to store and transmit information." Chen's expression hardened. "Can we send them a message?" The next week was a blur of activity as Project Aegis reconfigured their quantum manipulation technology. They weren't trying to weaponize it anymore. They were trying to speak. When they finally broadcast their first quantum message toward the alien construction site, no one knew what to expect. The message was simple: mathematical constants and basic physical laws, encoded in the aliens' own quantum language. The response came within hours, a massive quantum shift that their sensors initially registered as an attack. But as the patterns resolved themselves, they realized it was something far more profound. "They're showing us their history," Patel breathed, watching as alien concepts and images formed in their quantum receivers. "Their civilization, their development, their understanding of the universe." The story that emerged was both beautiful and tragic. The aliens, who called themselves the Harmonious in their quantum language, had discovered quantum state manipulation millions of years ago. They'd built their entire civilization around it, using it for everything from communication to construction to travel. But they weren't conquerors. They were preservers. "They think they're saving us," Rivera realized, as more of their message became clear. "The quantum technology, using it changes you, changes your civilization at a fundamental level. They've seen other species destroy themselves by developing it too quickly. So they crystallize developing worlds," Chen said quietly. "Preserve them until they think they're ready." Dr. Zhao stepped forward, her mind racing with implications. "But we did something they didn't expect. We didn't just develop quantum manipulation. We innovated. We found new ways to use it that they never considered." The next quantum message they received confirmed her theory. The Harmonious had been testing humanity, watching to see how they would respond to an existential threat. The massive construction project at the edge of human space wasn't a weapon. It was a gift. "It's a quantum archive," Paddle explained, her voice filled with awe. "Their entire scientific and cultural knowledge, encoded in stable quantum states. They're offering to share it with us." The implications were staggering. Access to millions of years of advanced scientific knowledge would catapult humanity centuries ahead technologically. But it would also fundamentally change human civilization forever. "We need to be careful," Wong cautioned. "This kind of power, this kind of change, it needs to be managed carefully." Chen nodded in agreement. "We accept their knowledge, but on our terms, at our pace. We've proven we can handle the responsibility." Over the next few days, as Project Aegis worked to establish proper communication protocols with the Harmonious, Dr. Zhao found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought them here. What had started as a desperate fight for survival had become something far more profound. Humanity's first steps into a larger universe. "You know what this means," Rivera said to her one evening, as they watched the quantum archive's construction through long-range sensors. "We're not just going to survive. We're going to thrive." Zhao smiled. "Because we did what humans do best. We didn't just adapt to the impossible. We redefined it." The final message they sent to the Harmonious wasn't just an acceptance of their offer. It was a statement of intent. Humanity would join them in exploring the quantum nature of reality, but they would do it their way, innovating, challenging assumptions, and pushing boundaries. The Harmonious response was simple but profound. A quantum pattern that translated roughly to "Welcome, young ones. Show us what you can do." As Captain Chen watched the first official diplomatic exchange begin between human and Harmonious representatives, she couldn't help but smile. They had faced extinction and emerged stronger. They had confronted the impossible and mastered it. But most importantly, they had proven once again that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its weapons or technology, but in its ability to turn adversity into opportunity, to find understanding where others saw only conflict. The universe, it seemed, was far stranger and more wonderful than they had imagined, and humanity was finally ready to take its place among the stars, not as victims or survivors, but as equals, as innovators, as pioneers, as humanity had always been meant to be.